Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's your girl Adar, and you're listening to the Digital Sisterhood podcast. So this episode, we're going to read some of the messages. Alhamdulillah, we got a lot of messages from women all over the world. Jazakallah khair, barakallah fiq. It was so beautiful to read all of them, and they were so insightful and so touching, and so we can't wait for you guys to hear. So I guess I'll read the first email we got. The first advice we got for that sister that asked about where do you begin? Where does it begin? Her name is Valvala. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correct. And if I'm not, sister, I'm so sorry. Her name, and she's listening from butchering it. I know I am. I'm so sorry. She's listening from all the way from Norway. And she says, my path to the deen began with curiosity and reflection on the meaning or the purpose of life at the age of 13. I did not get the answers to my essential questions from the people around me, and therefore started seeking knowledge about the deen on my own, from YouTube, Google, which I would know now not to recommend. I would recommend starting going to the masjid or attending classes. First of all, I would encourage for sisters to learn Arabic and to memorize the Quran. This will open and make the path to seek knowledge easier. Secondly, learn about the fundamentals in your faith, aqidah. This will be the root of the knowledge tree, and it will grow as you learn more, inshallah. What do you think of that advice?
Absolutely. Roots. Start with your roots. I think fundamentals, when people are talking about learning aqidah, which essentially, if you were to simplify, is just build that connection with Allah. Everything starts with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you're walking in your day, how much are you engaging in your mind with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I think that's God consciousness that we talk about all the time. Like we talk about taqwa. Anything you have, even if you're not doing huge, you don't got to do monumental shifts to your life. You just got to do that small mental acknowledgement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, definitely. And something I also I like that the sister said was that it's important to be a little bit worrisome about where you seek your knowledge. When she said I wouldn't recommend Google or YouTube, and I completely agree with that, because where you learn your knowledge is who you take from fundamentally affects the way that you practice your religion. Now, if you were to listen and learn from somebody who is teaching it incorrectly, then you would be learning and practicing it incorrectly. And so we kind of have to have this defensive demeanor about where you seek, just like university, right? If you're defending a thesis, or if you're defending an article, you're going to come with academic sources because it's important to the integrity of the material that you're writing and defending. Islam is the same way. It requires, integrity. So where you're learning is so important. And where you're seeking that. So, I remember when I started to, learn about my religion, I went, the first place I went to, not because I understood the integrity part, but because I had met women that went to the masjid, so they took me with them. And so I was learning from credible and reliable sources, that had the backing and the credentials to teach Islam. And so what I was learning and ingesting, and obviously when you're learning something new, you're like a sponge, kind of like a kid. So you really take on everything that's being said, and you're really trying to understand it. So you have to be very cautious of what you take in, because let me tell you something. And this happened to me, okay? When you learn something incorrect, like if you learn something that is not right, correcting it later is very difficult.
Yeah.
Well, because we're creatures of habit, right? And if you notice, our religion is a lot of repetition, right? How you pray salah, right? And you pray 5 times a day. If you are praying something incorrectly, it's gonna be hard for you to unlearn what you learned, right? So it's so, and it happened to me. Wallahi, when it happened to me, where I learned something and I didn't know it was wrong, and then somebody corrected me, and bro, I spent 2 months trying to correct it because it was hard, but my brain was a creature of habit. It was part of my, memory. I couldn't, it was really hard, but alhamdulillah, I did. But that's why I say in the beginning, when you're learning your religion, be very worrisome of who you take it from. So if you're learning something, ask about who the teacher is, ask where their credentials are. Not don't be too much about it, but just do your homework and research, just like you would in any academic setting or any workplace. You're going to make sure you know who you're learning from and who you're taking from orders. and like anything like that in life. So I definitely agree with the sister from Norway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to add, the other thing I want to add is always ask for the dalil. I
Mm.
used to teach kids. I taught
What exactly is
teens
dalil?
like
What's dalil?
to a dalil. Dalil means the evidence. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that I taught them is where do we get our knowledge of Allah, who Allah is? Where do we get our knowledge? What are our sources of the religion?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Sallallahu
So
alaihi
the book
wasallam.
of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, the words of Allah and the words of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the actions of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And so that's where we get it from. So when someone is teaching you something, you have every right to ask, where did you get that from? What is the evidence for it? Not as a form of disrespect, and don't ever take it as as disrespect. It is about, okay, if I'm gonna believe it and later on I'm gonna teach it in my life to my children, my friends, I need to know where the source is, where this thing is. Anybody who's coming in for the first time, you haven't grown up learning about the deen.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cultural knowledge that gets mixed with the deen,
Mm-hmm.
and people don't even notice. People don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Point of it is just is to learn from the correct people. That's it. Make sure whoever you're learning from is licensed. Would you go to a non-licensed doctor? No, right? Because that's your life, right? And this is your deen. So, and you have to do it with caution. And yeah, and I think that's what that's the point of all of this is. And okay, so our next listener is from all the way Toronto, my hometown. And she says, my name is Ijabo, and I'm listening from Toronto, Canada. What mainly helped me get close to my deen was listening to Islamic lectures on YouTube and sharing them with my friends. I've subscribed to channels like The Merciful Servant, Islamic Guidance, The Prophet's Path, and etc. And I had post notifications on so I wouldn't miss a video. I learned so much about my deen, the Prophet ﷺ, and my Lord during that time. And those lectures really made me realize how beautiful Islam is. I would also listen to the Quran every morning before school while eating my breakfast and would read the meaning alongside it. This increases my love for the Quran and protected me from the day, and it kept me firm. Those two actions really helped me, and I highly recommend everyone who's looking to get closer to their deen to do these two things: seek knowledge and recite the Quran. Barakallah feek. Thank you for doing this. Love that. I love that advice. Jazakallah khair Java. And you know the part that I love that she said, because this is something I did too, was reading the Quran, the translation alongside it. I used to do that like that because when you're reading the Quran, if you don't have the fahm, it's really hard for it to penetrate you, like for you to understand, right? And so I would put the translations. I would get a really nice. First of all, I would recommend Sahih International translation because I feel like they're the most clear. You can get those books in any Islamic bookstore. So if you're interested in doing that,
Do they use the thy and thou?
yeah, they don't.
language?
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Okay,
avoiding
good.
the thou in the art in the Shakespeare's English because that just confuses
Shakespeare
mans.
English.
That confuses mal. Art where
Oh
thou.
my
Like
god.
I don't want to go back to grade 9 English. You know what I'm saying? So especially not learning about my religion, I'm not going back to grade 9 English. So if you're interested in learning the Quran, I would recommend. And just as the sister who also sent that message, I would get Sahih International. It's like a English translation book. They speak in plain and straightforward English, and you can find it at any Islamic bookstore. You can find it online as well. It's just Islamic Quran translations, and the publication is called Sahih International. So yeah, Sahih International. If you want the spelling, just message CDS and I'll tell you how to spell it. And then the Quran, and you read it chapter to chapter, and you start to understand a little bit about what the ayahs are saying, and it's nice. It's really, really nice, and I definitely would recommend somebody who's starting off to start doing that, inshallah. Also, she mentioned about lectures, which is really nice because everyone starts listening to lectures. My OG, my two OG people I used to listen to in the beginning of my journey was Omar Suleiman. Shout out to Sheikh. Shout out to Sheikh. And Mufti Menk. Okay, first of all, Mufti Menk is the OG. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, and the thing is, I feel like they're so special because I feel like they were part of anybody's journey in the beginning. They're like, it's kind of like your first kindergarten teachers. You know what I mean? The kindergarten teachers are not similar to your high school teachers or your university teachers, right? They tell things very simple. They boost your iman. They explain things in a language you understand, and they get you to the next teacher. And I always say, like, they're so blessed in that way because they attract so many people, and they inspire us to keep learning. Wallahi. And so for anybody that dogs on them, we have beef. Don't talk about Mufti or Suleiman, because they're doing what they need to do to get people to get what they need to get to. So
honestly, I love how they talk about it in practicality. I feel like there's like people who want to get closer to Allah. There's different places that you're coming from.
Yeah.
Some people, like, they never had the opportunity to be in what we Somalis call duksi, but like, schools, Sunday school or anything like that. They never really got to engage with any of that, so they're learning everything from scratch from the get-go, right? And then there's people who they've always been in the masjid, but like nobody ever took time to actually say, hey, do you understand what you are learning? Like, they were just kind of, as you went along, you were just kind of expected to know, right? And then there's people who they studied it, they pursued it, but like looking at it in a new lens, right? So this episode, like back to basics, what we are hoping to do is, because we are human beings who are very forgetful, right? We can learn something, but if we don't upkeep it and we don't go back to it, we will forget it. It'll be gone. Like, there's some knowledge that you may think, oh, I learned this and I know it's ingrained, but then after a while you need to go back and revisit it. So back to basics is kind of what I'm hoping for, that we get out of it, right?
And just practical
to do that, yeah.
And practical steps, bro.
Very practical.
It's just
life.
Very practical, very simple. And the thing is, for me, I can't talk about munah, but for me, bro, I was learning my religion at an older age. So for me, like, it was very simple. For me, it was like, go to the masjid where the people of knowledge are. Learn as much as you can. Go there often, because you can't go there and then disappear. Because you know what I mean? Like, you want to constantly be in an environment where you're constantly learning. And then I would take the kitab and I would read the translations side by side. And then I would sign up for teachers. Okay, next is to learn to read, because I didn't know how to read, right? And I knew reading is important. So reading and like understanding is so important. So I joined schools like Huda, where they made sure that you had the reading down and you had the fahm down. It's kind of like school, right? In kindergarten, you're learning about comprehension and reading and language vocabulary. So it's like the same. You're recognizing that, okay, you got to really immerse yourself and remember that you're learning a whole new other language in a whole new world, and that's okay. And it's okay not to know anything. We're not don't feel ashamed. Don't feel low. Don't feel like, oh my God, I'm so late in the game. Don't feel that way. Don't ever feel that way. You know what I'm saying? It's never too late to start. You know what I'm saying? So and that was how I kept it basic. And then as you get older, you start to get comfortable. You start to know, and then you just elevate. You start to challenging the thought that you go in. It's just like, it's part of the journey of learning. And then you go to teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher, and then, you know what I mean? And then it's a by the way, it's a long-term journey. Okay, you never stop learning. Okay, it's not you learning, you stop. There's no like graduation point. Islam is being a life learner. Being a Muslim is about being a life learner, and being a learner forever. And so being comfortable.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you came, let's see, I'm trying to remember like your story, the wallflower, how it went. When you came back, some people are like shy. They're like, okay, I want to learn. I'm gonna be in the prefer, I'm gonna go to the masjid, right? I want to learn about it, but also like, how do I get over this hump of like, it's too late for me?
It's funny. I think it was a mixture of that, and also I didn't know anybody, so I didn't have friends like that. Because you the friends that you do have aren't also on your journey, right? So that's there, and then you lose your comfort zone too, right? Because it's like, okay, I'm gonna come to the masjid, a Miskin girl, and like talk to the people there, and they're probably gonna think I'm like, as I was thinking in my head, they're gonna think I'm strange. They're gonna think, where'd I come from? I'm gonna feel alone. Like those are things I was worried about, and then it kind of almost deterred me from not doing it. But I was fortunate enough to meet women who already knew people there, and so they could do that. Oh, this is Aida, everybody. Come out and sit with us. And so it was easy. But then what about the person that doesn't know anybody and is just going straight into the the mosque? But the thing is, it's like with any space you go into, it's uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. I would say mentally prepared to be uncomfortable. And then tell yourself that, like, you're here to learn, and alhamdulillah, Allah will make it easy, and then He'll provide you the support you need. Like it's almost like, like putting your backpack on your first day of school. Like it's not always gonna feel like the first day of school. It's eventually you're gonna make friends at the sandbox, and you're going to meet like-minded people, and it's going to get better. You just have to make that first step and be like, okay, it's basically my first day of school in here, so let me just like go with the vibes, and then inshallah things will get better. Because at the end of the day,
let me throw you a challenge then. What about people who don't have a masjid around them? Like they just
okay. Oh, that's I have an answer for that. If you, let's say, don't have a masjid, I think actually I would say a lot of people who there's a lot of people in the world who have masjids but don't go to the masjid, and they learn their religion online. Like they have online classes. They have, which by the way, alhamdulillah, since the global pandemic, not to say the global pandemic was a good thing, but meaning like during the global pandemic, there was a lot of classes that came out of nowhere online, okay? Where there was like Tawheed classes, the Arabic classes for sisters, this. And there was so many Zoom classes going on for free too. So many all over the world. You could tap in. You would join those classes. You do it, and then you're all of a sudden making friends with women all over the world, right? And then also like, we're in the era of the internet, so like all of my classes. I don't know about everybody else, but all my classes, university classes, were online, right? And alhamdulillah, I thought it would deter me from like my educational experience or the friendship building of it. It didn't. As long as I was open to meeting new people and open to learning, then the experience still felt somewhat the same. So I would say like find an online community that you feel like you could join the Zoom classes. Alhamdulillah, Al-Huda is online. If you're thinking about learning Al-Huda, I would definitely agree. I would recommend you start at Al-Huda, www.alhuda.com. They have online classes, and they're so organized, and you meet sisters all over the world. Oh my God, they're so organized. They even give you like a schedule and everything like that. So there's a resource out there. Even if you can't find a masjid, you can find a masjid at home, like on the internet. And you're not alone, right? And if you feel alone still, then, listen to TDS. Listen to us. Like, we with you in your ear, you know what I'm saying? We're here too, and we hear you and we see you, sis. And you don't ever have to feel alone, because we understand. We understand things are rough and things are tough. And it's a really lonely time for a lot of people. And we're all just trying to get by. And we're hoping, me and Mona are hoping that like this podcast is helping a lot of women feel less lonely. Also, our next listener is Layla, and she writes, I'm a new listener from Minnesota, United States. Shout out to Minnesota. Woo! Shout out to Minnesota.
Minnesota people.
First of all, Minnesota is easily becoming one of my favorite cities in the United States of America. One piece of advice that I would love to share with you that has helped me on my current journey of rediscovering Islam for myself is to enroll in Islamic academic institutions, whether it's Duksi, university, halaqas, basically circles of knowledge. If you can find one in your area that's offered by or for a sister, that's even better. I can't stress how impactful and beneficial the pursuit of knowledge is. And the connections and friendships that can blossom between you and your peers from that shared experience of seeking that closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through studying the deen is extremely worth it. Know that whoever goes on this path of seeking knowledge of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will make easy for him a path to paradise. May Allah make you of those whose path to paradise has been made easy for them. May you find comfort, peace, happiness in Islam. Ameen. Pause. I know. The story is getting so good. But wait, I have a message for you that you're going to want to hear, okay? Have you been looking for an opportunity to reconnect your faith by building a relationship with the Quran? Or even learning Quranic Arabic? Or even getting your questions answered about different rulings? Well, let me tell you, the Ribat Academic Institute is an online program that provides traditional Islamic education for women by women. Yes, you heard me right. Islamic education for women by women. Yes, all the courses are taught by female scholars. Allah Mubarak. You have a choice from over 50 courses ranging from Sirah to Tajweed to Fiqh and Hadith. You can even take in classes like the 99 Names of Allah or purifying the heart or the reflections from the Quran and the lessons from the life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. as well as a mentorship matters program on how to guide and support and help others. Ribat's online classes have been reconnecting Muslim women from all around the world with their faith and helping them reclaim their traditionally held leadership roles in Islamic scholarship, mentorship, and community care. All classes are held live online and recordings are posted after class. And the courses, guys, the courses are affordable. They're not expensive at all. They also provide country discounts and scholarships are available. Scholarships are available, so there's no reason why you shouldn't sign up. So if you're interested, visit Rabata, that's RABATA.info, INFO /TDS and register today. That's beautiful, dua.
Yeah, find your crew, crew. You could have a halal girl summer with.
Find your
Honestly,
clique, find your clique.
Subhanallah, bruh. I found my friend group.
Yeah.
I'm not really like a group person.
Yeah.
But I found my friend group when I went to a camp called El Isra here at Minnesota. And Sky Blue, Suwu.
Oh no! Don't tell me that's your chant, your click chant. Don't tell me that.
That was it. It was
Blue.
It's called Sky Blue.
Yeah.
Sky Blue.
That's cute. Okay? That's really cute.
You gotta say Suwu.
Oh, that's.
I gotta say Sky Blue.
Suwu.
I gotta say it.
Suwu.
She recruited. Y'all.
Am I recruiting?
Okay, basically, you're recruiting. All our friends call us a cult out here. But subhanallah, there was a camp experience that they did, and it was called Filling the Void. And they wanted, I think their intention was to talk about the void of sisterhood. Like, it's so hard. A lot of times masjids do events for men and like, basketball and like doing all the stuff, come together, it's very common, at least in my space, in my city. That's what we see a lot. It's easier for men to organize and to organize activities for men. But like they were talking about this void of sisterhood. And when we came together, our group, subhanallah, to this day, it's been 2 years now. We still meet up, we still talk, we're in a group chat, and I feel like Ilahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you make that intention of like saying, okay, I'm gonna spend it, I'm taking this journey, ya Allah, help me find people who will always keep me on the path towards you, and you make that sincere dua, Allah will bring you the best of friends, the most spiciest, the kindest, the funniest people alive. And I think for me, 2020, like that was one of the du'as I just kept making. And then now look who I'm friends with. I'm friends with Aida. I'm friends with Hilal.
Yep.
People who are across an entire. I've never seen their faces in real life.
Yep.
We never seen each other.
Yeah.
But we're friends, and I feel like every year and every time I find new people who inspire me and to grow in new ways. But she's so right. You will find people you love.
Yes, you will. Especially in the places of knowledge, in places of like worship, places where people are like-minded. Of course, of course. Like if you have any doubt in your mind, let me distinguish it. Like you will find friends, definitely go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Get me? So the next listener is listening from all the way from Australia, and her name is Zainab. She says, Assalamu alaikum, sisters in Islam. A very important practical advice I'd give is creating your own sisterhood if there's none. We lacked a space where I could go and link with sisters and enjoy good company, host halaqas, events, and activities for sisters. So I created one because we didn't have one in our local Somali mosque. Alhamdulillah, we're still strong since 2018. It's a safe place. I re-energize and recharge my iman. May Allah make it easy for the sisters who are yearning for having sisterhood. Inshallah, if you don't have one, make one. TDS is also here just for that. You're right, sis. We definitely are here just for that. But I think that's incredible. I think that's so incredible.
Oh, wow.
That's so cool.
Yes.
They created their own space. Yeah. She's from Australia. They made their own halaqah, their own space. They knew there was a gap and they made that space, bro. Like that's so cool. And I love like when people take the initiative to solve a problem. And I love that. I love that so much. And
you get the barakah of every single person who joins and any good they do.
Oh my God.
Just because you made it.
You're racking it. You're racking it. Oh my
That's
God.
the real billions, trillions out
Yeah,
here
that's
that
the
we trying.
real like bank account, like
That's
stack packed high. You know what I mean? MashaAllah,
exactly. Yeah.
tabarakallah. Definitely, and I
Wow.
encourage that for the sisters that don't may not have halaqas in their neighborhood or in their city, start one. Why not?
Why
Start
not?
one. If you
Do
know a
it.
bunch of sisters and you think you could use like a sister circle, a support group, a halaqa girl, do it. Link up.
Do it. Don't let nobody else beat you to the
Yeah.
to the
To the
to the
khair.
to
To the
the
khair.
jump to the
Yeah.
khair.
Don't
Get
be.
to it.
Yeah. Be in
Yeah.
the race for it, actually. Be in the race.
Yes.
Definitely. So
Yes.
I love that. Jazakallah khair for that advice. Next listener is writing from all the way from Sudan. She says, I know, Sudan. I'm shocked right now. I'm just gonna try not to fangirl right now. She says, I'd like to tell her, when you're on a journey towards becoming closer to Allah, you must learn about Him first. That's your foundation. That's where the sweetness of all of its originations. Learn about Him by learning about His attributes, reading the Quran, and pondering over it. Look into yourself and what's pondering over it. No, look into yourself and what's around you, and you'll soon realize His signs are everywhere. It'll be easier to obey Him simply because you love Him. Islam isn't about rules. It's about worshiping the one you love most and the one who loves you most. Jazakallah khair. Wow. Thank you, Allah.
Wow.
That's so beautifully written, and you're absolutely
Oh my
right.
God. MashaAllah. She really did it. I always think, these, to simplify, before I used to think about God and religion as something so complex,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a whole thing I needed to fulfill and do all that. But actually, like the phrase that of the Prophet ﷺ said, where it's like, the deen is easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's people who don't know that make it hard. The
Mm-hmm.
deen is really easy, and it's about like, I think about it. If you think about, like, if you're in a relationship with someone you love so much. Actually, I'm just gonna do a shout out to Yasmin Mujahid's book, bro.
Mm.
Yasmin Mujahid's book, Reclaim Your Heart,
Mm-hmm.
amazing, amazing book. Just start by reading that book, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would say, because it really, we live in a world that worships love,
Mm-hmm.
and so much times, people don't understand that it was love that took the Sahaba from where the comfort they used to live to be a part of this Islam. It started with love and it always ends with love. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate source of love. So if you truly understand that and you feel that in your heart, then your transformation is not going to be one that is forced. You know what I mean? It's always remembering that who is the being who loves you the most, right? Our I feel like our place of peace, a place of happiness, is understanding and following voluntarily a source that loves us, And so, think about it. I think honestly, some people. I was talking with youngins about hijab, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I was like, before we even talk about hijab and why you wear it and who you like, the physical aspect of it, what type of hijab, just let's just talk about love. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about love first. Foster that love and that relationship with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And she really truly captured it, because, it's like, if you start with love and you start to love Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, everything else becomes just enjoyable. You're like, wow, I feel like I found the secret to life. And that's why, when you would hear about, you ever heard about, like, the how the companions used to, like, stay awake for all the entire night, about this one companion who got shot with an arrow and he was praying and he didn't, like, even flinch. All these, like, stories of, like, what um ultimate piety looks like. And it was never taught to me from the sense of, like, what is it actually that motivates them to be that intense about
Mm-hmm.
anything.
That's
You know what I mean?
that was always the question for
And
me too.
yeah, I was like, okay, are they just like that? Is it just who they are as characters,
Yeah.
as people? And it was like, no, it's actually love. It's the same thing you watch in movies that we all like, or books, and that
Mm-hmm.
keeps us coming back. It's really love that motivates people to
Subhanallah.
do amazing things, and
Yeah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the source of ultimate permanent love, permanent unchanging love,
Subhanallah.
and
Indeed.
that's what we all seek.
So our next our next writer. She's decided to keep herself anonymous, and we love that for her. Bismillah, she says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear sister in faith, I want to start off by saying the journey to finding contentment and steadfastness in Islam is one of a struggle. It is muffled in cries, heavy shoulders, a tired, hopeless heart, and for many of us like you, it is a lonely journey at times. But it doesn't always have to be like that. One of the ways in which you can start off this journey right, and it perhaps is the most important step, learn about you, your Creator, learn about Allah, His beautiful names, lofty attributes. Take a name day and reflect on it. If Allah is the sustainer, then why do I put my hopes and dreams in the hands of people? If Allah is the protector, then there is no person or thing in this world that can place fear in my heart. If Allah is the loving one, the one who's forgiving, then dear sister, what is stopping us from turning to Him in our ease and our hardships? I know you know the answer, so just start. There was once a man with the most beautiful character and heart, yet he was belittled, humiliated, mocked, and ignored. He cried for you, he cried for me, he cried for us all. He felt the emotions we all feel, sadness and fear and joy and all in between. In those days where you feel that no one understands you or you just want to hide away, take a copy of the biography of the Prophet ﷺ. When the Moon Split is a great introductory one, or the Sealed Nectar if you have it, and just read. I promise it'll answer so much for you and affirm so many things in your heart. Learn about Allah and His beloved Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everything else will connect to that. Prayer, worship, your character, dealings with the people, the friends you make, the bonds you create, all of the ties to the capacity of our love for Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So learn and read and act, you will receive the goodness. It may take years, or you may only see it in the hereafter, but it'll be worth all the tears and heartache, I promise you. Hold your head high, beloved. Yours truly, your sister in faith. Wow. This was beautifully written. I'm gonna shed a tear. Thank you for coming to our podcast. That's the end of it. Jazakallah khair, barakallah feek. It's a rap. It's a rap type of email. Like,
what else do you need?
What else is there to say? Really? And she said it so beautifully, is that learn about Allah and His Messenger, and you'll get everything that you need. Even the parallels she describes of how the Prophet was treated, and yet he was the one that cried for us all and prayed for us all, and you feel that connection too, right? And the beauty that this religion embodies in us, like, and it wants from us, and it's so beautifully well said. And by the way, the autobiography of the Prophet ﷺ, the book, I read The Sealed Nectar. I didn't read The Moon Split. The Sealed Nectar is a bit thick, okay? It's a bit thick, and it's a little bit hard to read. So if you're if you're a heavy reader, then go ahead and by any means read that book. But When the Moon Splits is a way far better and more like easier to read, or like reader friendly. And yeah, I would definitely recommend reading the Prophet ﷺ's autobiography. It is incredible. I literally cried at the end. I was like, wow, if I couldn't read any other book after this, I would be okay.
MashaAllah. I do want to suggest a YouTuber. There's a YouTuber that I follow. Oh my God, I love how she really okay. So the thing is, I always used to think of the Prophet ﷺ as a concept.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Not as a person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I never actually thought about him having emotions and like feeling things. I would read it, but it never really hit me. It never really hit me like that. He was a person just like me who actually felt these things, these emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of thought of the Prophet ﷺ as a concept, but like reading his actual like
life story,
relationships, life stories,
you're shocked.
The things. I'm like, wow, okay, he really loved Khadija.
Yeah,
like,
he
wow,
did.
It was like love.
Yeah, like real love. It was like real love.
Real love.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, and then she really loved him too.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like learning about all of his relationships and how sallallahu alaihi wasallam he interacted with everybody. It really, I was like, wow. And then there was a video that this YouTuber, her name is Aida Azlin, spelled Aida Azlin. Okay, if you join her, she has like a little sisterhood going on, and I love it. She
Mm.
has these Tuesday love letters that she sends.
Mm.
She sends an email to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just an amazing individual. But she did one about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and all of her videos just kind of talk about that character building of like the knowledge we learn as Muslims. How do we like just put it in our daily life? And so, if you're a visual person, I would say go there because she really sets you up with that God consciousness of how every single thing you do in your life, how you set up your day, who you interact with, your relationships, everything. It's not lecture-y. It's more about her reflecting on her own life. That's what I love about it. She's reflecting on her own life and things that happened to her, and she's like, "Oh, I was thinking about this and I was thinking about that." And so, Aida Azlin, I hope I'm saying her
Mm-hmm.
name correctly, but go check out her YouTube channel and then also subscribe to her Tuesday Love Letters because they're amazing. Not gonna lie,
Mashallah.
amazing.
I'm definitely gonna check
Yeah,
her out. I've never heard of
check
her, but
her
I'm
out.
definitely gonna
And
check her
even
out.
as an English speaker, I really learned the deen as in Arabic, but as an English speaker, it really hit my heart. You know, when I see things in English.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's what I love about it. If you're an English speaker,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So that's all emails. You got this is the beginner starting pack, okay? The
Mm.
autobiography, right? Sahih International English translation, okay? The
Mufti Menk.
yeah, Mufti Menk or Suleiman, all of their lectures, okay? This is the friendly
Yasmin
start.
Mujahid's book.
Yasmin, guys, wow, we are giving
Reclaim your heart.
reclaim your heart. So
Reclaim your
we're,
heart.
you know what? We're going to list all of the resources on our at the end
Ooh.
at our description box, inshallah. But this is really like the starter pack. What you need to start your journey, you know, and what and what will help you spark that journey, and definitely these are really and jazakallah khair to all the sisters that emailed because you're reminding me about other in 2012. You know, you're taking me back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ramla. I'm from Perth, Western Australia. I just wanted to send this voice memo in regards to the digital sisterhood. Put aside the podcast for a moment. I think the whole platform, initially starting from Instagram, has been a place where Muslim sisters around the world could feel as if they had a community, feel connected, feel inspired and motivated. And that alone in itself has been had such a great impact on my life. So jazakallahu khairan for even starting the platform to begin with. Now to even discuss the podcast, subhanallah, there was so many moments throughout all the episodes that I felt so emotional that I had to stop for a moment. It was a point of reflection. I had to let the information seep in, and after all of that, to act, to try and implement what I learned from these beautiful, amazing, inspiring, eloquent sisters and implement it into my daily life so I can be the best version of myself. Jazakallah khairan to all the Digital Sisterhood team. A special shout out, of course, to Adar, the host. I genuinely pray that you starting this platform and initiative is a means for your entry into Jannah, because as much as I think I told you, and I know numerous sisters have already spoke or did tell you that your platform and your podcast has genuinely changed us for the better, even if it's a small habit that I picked up because of the platform that you created. I genuinely pray that any khair that comes out of this, any khair that I do in my life, inspired by the podcast and inspired by your platform, goes into your balance of hasanat. And I pray that your status is elevated in this life and the hereafter. I pray that everyone again involved in digital, the listeners, the people that are part of the team, I pray that we are all united, if not in this life, in the hereafter. Sorry for my rambling. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So Muna, I would like you to help me close this episode off. Do you remember what I used to say every outro?
This episode is brought to you by Bro, I edit these episodes so much. How do I know? No.
Okay.
I was just like, at this
Every time
point.
I do a pause, you fill it out. Okay. This
Okay.
episode is brought to you by
Beautiful Light Studios.
I'd like to give a shout out to our Patreon members who signed on as executive producers. Their names are Fatima and Halima Ghalid. Jazakallah khair for helping us produce these episodes. Yeah, and I really hope everyone really loved this episode. And to the sister that inspired this podcast, I really hope that you found this episode extremely beneficial and practical and all of the above. And it really is like a love letter from me, Muna, the TDS Global Sisterhood, to you. And to anybody who is wondering what they do next or where they should start or where they should go. Like, I hope this is all for you guys. And me and Muna are just like giving you an air hug, bear hug. Just,
Bear hug.
Bear
There
hug,
you go.
inshallah. So you'll see us next week again, same time, same place. Other in your ears, in your speakers, telling you what, Muna?
Telling you a good story.
Telling you a good story. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.